Feeling a little overwhelmed by Django? Don't be. Today, we're going to take that big, complicated roadmap and turn it into a clear, straightforward quest. Think of me as your guide. We'll break it all down step by step so you can kick things off feeling totally confident. Look, this isn't about just cramming a bunch of commands into your brain. No way. This is an adventure. Seriously. It's designed to take you from, what's Django, all the way to a job-ready junior developer. So, you ready to turn this map into an actual career? All right, let's get into it. Okay, so here's the game plan. We've split this whole quest into 3 main phases, spread out over 12 weeks. First up, we're laying the foundations. Then, we'll get into the fun stuff, mastering data. And finally, you'll be building and launching your very own applications. So, let's kick off with phase 1.
You know, you can't build a skyscraper on sand, right? Every great project needs a solid foundation. And that's exactly what these first 4 weeks are all about. We're going to build that essential groundwork. It's kind of like learning the alphabet of Django before you try to write a novel.
So take a look at how this all builds up. It's pretty cool, right? In just 4 weeks, you're going to go from setting up a simple Python environment to actually building a site you can click around in. We'll cover the core request response flow, make things look nice with templates, and then connect everything with URLs. This is the bedrock of everything you'll do later. Okay, to really get Django, you've got to understand its core architecture, which is called MVT. And honestly, this restaurant analogy is the best way to think about it. The model? That's your pantry, where all your ingredients, your data, are stored. The view is the chef. It gets the order, grabs the ingredients, and cooks up the meal. And the template? That's the menu the customer sees, all beautifully presented. If you can wrap your head around that, you've pretty much nailed the logic of Django. All right, time for your first mini quest. This is where you prove you've got the basics down. Seriously, don't just watch me talk about it, you gotta do it. By building this simple Hello World project, you're actually using everything we just talked about: the request flow, URLs, views, and templates. It sounds simple, but trust me, it's a huge and powerful first step. Okay, phase 1 is in the books. Now for phase 2. If laying the foundation was like building the frame of a car, this next part, this is where we drop in the engine. We are diving deep into data, which is basically the fuel for any modern web app. So weeks 5 and 6 are where things get really interesting. This is the heart of the backend, databases. You're going to learn how to structure your data using models, and we'll even connect to a pro-level database like Postgres. Then we get to use 2 of Django's coolest features, like total power-ups, the automatic admin panel, and its awesome built-in system for handling users. Okay, listen up, because this next concept is an absolute game changer. It's called the Django ORM. Think of it as your own personal universal translator. You get to write simple Python code, like literally just defining a class, and the ORM automatically translates that into the complicated SQL that databases speak. What does that mean for you? It means you can manage all your data without ever having to leave Python. It's amazing. So how do you get good with this magic translator? Simple. Daily practice. I'm talking just 10 or 15 minutes a day. Hop into the Django shell and just play around with your data. This is how you build the muscle memory that separates the good developers from the great ones. And believe me, it's a skill you'll use constantly. And just like that, we're at the final phase of our quest. You've laid the groundwork, you've hooked up the engine with data. Now it's time to add all the cool features, polish it up, and, get this, launch it for the whole world to see. This is where you go from a learner to a real builder. Okay, these last few weeks are absolutely jam-packed with skills that get you hired. You'll learn to handle user input with forms. Then, in week 10, we tackle a massive topic: building APIs. Just think of an API as a little messenger that lets your app talk to other apps. And to wrap it all up, you'll learn how to make your code rock solid with testing and, finally, deploy it live on the internet. All right, here's a question I get all the time. When should I use a function-based view versus a class-based view? It can be confusing at first, but here's a simple way to think about it. A function view is like a very specific recipe for one dish. It's simple, it's clear. A class-based view, on the other hand, is more like a master recipe template that you can reuse for lots of similar dishes. It helps you keep your code dry, don't repeat yourself, which is super efficient for common tasks. So imagine this. You've crushed the 12-week quest. You've got the skills. What's next? Well, now we get to the really exciting part. Let's talk about turning all that hard work into a real career and landing that first developer job. Think of this as your job hunting cheat sheet. This is literally a checklist of what hiring managers are looking for right now. And hey, does it look familiar? It should. It maps perfectly to our 12-week plan. A solid grasp of the ORM, building REST APIs, writing tests. Your only job now is to prove on your GitHub profile that you can do all this stuff.
Stuck on what to actually build for your portfolio? No problem. Here are 3 perfect starter projects. A blog that covers all the fundamentals from the first 2 phases. A to-do list API that's a perfect way to show off those API skills from week 10. And a simple poll app shows you can handle forms and data relationships. Remember, these aren't just little exercises. This is your resume.
This right here, this is so important. A hiring manager doesn't just look at the final shiny project. Nope, they're going to look at your commit history. They want to see your thought process, how you tackle problems, and how you've grown. Your GitHub profile needs to tell the story of your journey, of your 12-week quest.
And now, it's time for the final boss battle, the technical interview. I know, these topics on the screen can look a little scary. The MVT architecture, migrations, authentication. But hang on, look closer. Every single one of these maps directly back to something you learned in our 12 weeks journey. You already know this stuff. The interview is just your chance to explain it clearly.
So, there it is. The map is in your hands, the path is totally clear, and your adventure is just waiting to start. There's really only one question left to ask. What's the very first thing you're going to build? Your quest starts right now.